It's the next level.
Hmm? Ah! Oh.
You never made soup for me.
Am I interrupting something?
Would it really matter if you were?
We have a situation. Brian radioed in. The Iraqi found the decoy village.
Good. It's what we wanted.
Brian followed him back to the shore. Then they have a sailboat.
How?
I have no idea.
So they have a boat. Sailing in circles will keep them busy.
They could find us. Man,
I'm thinking. How quickly can you put together a team?
within the hour.
And don't waste time talking to us. Hey, Colleen. I want that boat.
Welcome to another episode of We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited, as we continue our trek into the third season of the series. I'm Ben.
I'm Kristen, and we are into season 3. I'm so excited. I love this season so much. I actually forgot how much I love this season. I thought that season 2 was my favorite, and now that we're in season 3, I'm like, oh wait, I think I really like this one too.
I love season 3.
Yeah, it's super fun so far, and I loved all the memories of just what's coming up and being reminded of things to come and things that have happened and blah. Anyways, we're doing season 3, episode 2, The Glass Ballerina, a Jin and Sun flashback.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not gonna lie. We just got done saying like how much we love season 3. I don't have nearly as many notes for this episode as I did episode 1.
Yeah, so, I mean, see, and this is dangerous because when you and I don't have a lot of notes, we tend to talk a lot more than we initially thought.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, you know what? It's a weird episode because I think, in most season openers, it's usually the first episode that kind of sets up the season. And I think that we were still in like a reactionary type of situation from the finale into the premiere, that the setup episode seems to be this episode.
Yeah.
And the way that they did it, I had a hard time connecting the flashback with current events.
Well, it's also interesting to note, too, one of the things I found in my research of the episode is that I actually found out that episodes 2 and 3 were switched on the schedule slate.
I did see that.
Episode 3, which is, I can't remember the name of the episode, Further Instructions, was actually slated to be episode 2, and Glass Ballerina was slated to be episode 3, but for sake of timeline, they switched the two. So maybe that's where a little bit of this kind of maybe loss of connection comes from when it comes to watching these. But I guess it'll be interesting to see when we go through Further Instructions next week how that actually plays a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting because I think with you saying that, I'm going to watch the third episode, and then I might go back and watch 1, 3, and 2.
And see if it connects a little better.
And see if that's a little bit better of a flow. I don't know. It might be a good exercise. We could talk about that next week.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'd definitely be down for rewatching the episodes as well. Especially in this season 2 and season 3, I'm down for watching the episodes as many times as possible. Because as you mentioned, 2 and 3, I know a lot of people, I think, kind of got turned off by the show. Or not necessarily turned off, but maybe lost a little bit of interest going, towards the end of season 3 into season 4, but seasons 2 and 3 are my absolute favorite of the show. And that's not to say I'm still not looking forward to talking about seasons 4, 5, and 6, because absolutely I am.
Yeah.
But I'm down to watching any episode of this show more than once.
Mm-hmm.
A couple quick notes before we continue forward. This is a spoiler full podcast, so please be aware that as you're listening, as we will be talking about things that happen not just in the past of the series, but also the future and how they play a part in what is happening now in the series. And with that being said, we have a lot more. We do have a couple more pieces of feedback for this episode that we usually get to at the end, including 2 pieces from 2 listeners who've just started listening or have been listening for a while, but are contributing feedback for the first time, and it's more show related rather than episodic related.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to do them now, or do we want to save them for the end?
You know what? You are on my. You're like in my brain right now, because I was just going to suggest the same thing.
That we do it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have one and you have one.
Mm-hmm.
One of them comes to us from feedback. One of them comes to us from an email. I have a feeling the feedback one's going to be a little bit more of a discussion. So why don't you kick us off and you go with the piece of feedback we got from the email?
From any episode feedback. Okay. So this is from, I believe it's Leda. Or Lita, hello. She said, new listener here, and this is only my second time watching Lost. When I first watched it as it aired, it left me with more questions than answers. With Lost, much like Dexter, the finale ruined an otherwise great show. In any event, just writing in to let you know that since listening to your podcast, I have found a new appreciation for the show. Thanks a bunch for that. Oh, that's nice. And Kristen, the Rose and Bernard episodes, the way you spoke about them had me and the hubby in stitches. It's like you were talking about us. So now whenever Dennis asks me an obvious question, I always answer in the tone of, it's Saturday, Bernard. Yes, I endearly call him Bernard. Oh, and Jack is the worst. It's Saturday, Bernard.
So thank you for the new the new feedback, and we appreciate the words for the kind words about the show.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh, that's so nice. I love that. Oh, I love new listener feedback. That's so exciting. Yay.
But also on the note of new listener feedback, this one actually goes back from a couple episodes ago, but it's a little bit of a call and response because we did respond to this, and we got but the reason why we're bringing this one up is because it's proof positive that we know not everybody agrees with our opinions on the show, and this
Which
one
I
goes
invite.
back. Yeah, absolutely. We love to hear differences of opinion. And this one goes back to season 2, episode 21. So it does go back a couple episodes, about 3 or 4 episodes. This was the question mark episode, or episode, as we so notably called it. And this feedback actually comes from Matt Steffens. I think I'm assuming it's Steffens. It's Stephans. So Matt, if I'm wrong in the pronunciation of your last name, I apologize. But this goes back to the whole inside the hatch when Jack sent Sawyer to get the guns, or to get the heroin to save Libby. He says, "Man, it's hard to agree with your Jack take, especially when you support Sawyer, who 3 days ago was responsible for kidnapping and injuring Son to show Jack up. Your argument that Jack's a bad guy for having Kate follow Sawyer is insane. It's a free opportunity to have more than only Sawyer know where the guns are. It doesn't slow anyone down. It doesn't hurt Libby. It's a smart leadership move. I imagine you two just got in a feedback loop with each other, but I don't know who else you're expecting to lead. No one else wants it. Hell, sometimes Jack doesn't even want it. But to say he's a bad leader and Doctor because he couldn't save a guy who fell off a cliff and people who had gunshot wounds on the island with the line, John Wick killed people with a pencil. Who said that? Was it me or you that said that? I don't remember.
Probably me. I had just watched John Wick.
Okay.
So it was probably me.
Really points to you just piling on. Seriously, you're comparing trying to save a gunshot victim with primitive tools to killing someone with primitive tools. I get that you're not necessarily trying to go logical and just enjoying talking back and forth, but this one is a bad argument. So I responded on Facebook, haha, fair enough. We know that not everyone will agree with us all the time, but we appreciate the feedback. We encourage people to let us know when they don't agree with our point of view. Contrary to belief, Kristen and I don't always agree either, hopefully, which is true. Hopefully your difference of opinion doesn't turn you off from listening to us further, but thanks for listening nonetheless, and we appreciate the feedback.
Yay.
And Matt actually responded. He said, "It's my first episode with you two. I'll listen to you more. I'm helping my girlfriend through her first run through, my fourth. And while I love the Lost Boys podcast for their spoiler-free perspective, it's been difficult to find a podcast talking about Lost from a how this shows up in the future of the series podcast. I also think I may have come off more harshly than I intended. Thank you for the level-headed reply." So, and you know what? And I didn't, just to be fair, I didn't think he came across harshly at all.
No, not at all. I mean,
you know,
if you had called me names, that's where I draw the line. Like, if you don't agree with my opinion, hey, I welcome that. I think that that's fun. I like going back and forth. I mean, some of the best discussions that Ben and I have gotten into have been because we don't agree, and it can be really fun. But, you know, it's when people get mean for no reason. You know, I mean, on my other podcast, I was called a host of horrible names because I didn't like the way that a story had gone. And that was really difficult to stomach. But this is fun. I enjoy this. And I understand what you're saying. You know, I think maybe I wasn't getting across correctly, if that's how it was taken, because it's not that I think that Jack's a bad leader because he can't fix people with, you know, the little tools that he has. It's that his ego has gotten so big that that I don't think that he wants anybody else to lead because of his control issues. I think that, you know, he used that opportunity to find out where Sawyer's stuff is, and I it didn't sit well with me as a viewer, especially since Libby was dying, Ana Lucia was already dead, you know, and Sawyer was very willing to help with whatever it is that was needed at the time. So I just think that it was a little opportunistic, and it didn't play right or sit right with me. You know, and look, Jack was a big draw to this show, especially when it was on at first. You know, looking at the show of a decade later with fresh eyes, I can see it a little bit more removed, especially after seeing it a few times through over the years. So, you know, I have fun with it that Jack is the worst. I think that he is the worst. And maybe I made a weak argument that episode, but I think that I've made some really good arguments in the past. So
well, I mean, Matt did say that was his first episode listening, right. So he may have missed some of those other arguments. But I mean, I'm with you too, that as long as you're not going into, like, you're not insulting us personally or anything like that, we welcome the different contrasting feedbacks.
Absolutely.
Because it creates conversation for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, you didn't come across harshly at all.
No.
Kristen and I agree with that completely. And you know, continue to leave that feedback as you get caught up, because we'll definitely use it on the podcast. So, you know, once you and your girlfriend get caught up with the episodes and you start leaving current feedback, we'll start dropping it into the episodes, and, you know, it's going to create some really cool stuff. And, you know, I'll say one more thing too before we get into this actual episode is this is a prime example that we encourage anybody who's listening to us, please leave us feedback, whether it's you agree with us or you disagree with us, because it creates these great conversations for this podcast, and which becomes even better for the show itself.
Yeah. So, and, you know, I love it that this is Matt's fourth time through. That's awesome. So you may see stuff that maybe we missed in the past. And I love that because, you know, I do as much research as I can in preparation for these episodes, but I miss a lot of stuff. Des will tell you that.
Yes, Des will make let you know. No bones about pointing that out.
Des will let you know that I'm causing him to beat his head against his steering wheel as I speak. So,
but it's also good to know too that it's been difficult when he says it's been difficult to find a podcast about Lost that covers it from, a spoiler full kind of angle to see how everything compares, that there aren't many out there. So we're one of the few, which is kind of good. It means we've taken a different aspect of covering this show that not many other people have.
Yay, life.
Which I like. Yes. What?
I said yay, life. It's fine.
Okay. I heard you. I was just confused.
It's fine.
Let's jump into the Glass Ballerina because, while we don't have a lot of notes, there are definitely some things that we need to discuss about this. And as is customary, whoever is, as we're reciprocating and going back and forth on hosting this season, whoever is not hosting gets to kick things off. So I'll turn it over to you. Where do you want to start?
Oh, where do I want to start? I'm going to start off with my first watch note. So I noticed that. So last season, it seemed to be a lot about manipulation. And really the major arc, I think, last season was kind of the destruction of Locke's faith and how manipulation from others broke Locke down. I think that this episode kind of highlights an emerging theme for the season that is good people being forced to do bad things. And I think that there's quite a few examples in this episode. First and foremost, Jin, when we first meet Jin in this series, he is the son of a fisherman who just wants to make it and be a success and not be a fisherman. He wants to make it on his own. And I forget what he really wanted to do. Was he an artist? No, that sounds wrong. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's all I remember is him just trying to be a humble person and just get that.
A really good
he just
guy.
Wanted that job. He just wanted that job as a doorman just to make money.
Yeah, and I just think that we've seen a lot of that old Jin popping back up since the raft, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've seen that he's a good guy, and we see in the flashbacks that Sun's father really forced him into a corner for years and almost brainwashed him to the point of no return. And he tried to leave. He tried to stand on his own 2 feet. He tried to leave, and he was manipulated back into Sun's father's hold and his grip very effectively. But Jin is a really big example in this episode of a good person that is being forced to do bad things. Sun is the same way. Sun, as a girl, was so scared of her father that she, lied to her father, and then she kind of started this life where she was kind of 2 sons, the son for her father and then the son for her husband. That son, like the surface deep son, and then the son that she really wanted to be, and that was when she was with Jay. So, but she's been forced to do bad things, which for her is lying, right? She had to lie to her husband. She had to lie to her father. She was, and then you fast forward to now, and she's lying to her husband again because Saeed has asked her to, which is something that she probably didn't want to do anymore. We also find out that she's been lying to him. She knows how to sail. She lied to him before about her knowing English. She lied to him forever about that. She hid the fact that she could communicate with the rest of the survivors from her husband and left him in the dark. And I think a lot of that is because she had this institutionalized fear inside of her that her father had conditioned into like the fabric of her DNA. So, these are 2 people that have been forced into this kind of deceptive personality, but at the root of it, they're really good people, and they have good hearts, but they've just been conditioned to act a different way. You look at Colleen, and Colleen clearly she has a relationship, she has love in her life, but she's being forced by Ben, along with this other group of people, to go and to either kidnap or kill to get this boat. Colleen's boyfriend, whose name is escaping me right now, he's a jerk, but I'm not sure, how that got to be. I think all the others being... Yes.
Danny was his name, yeah.
I think all the others that are being controlled by Ben Linus are being forced into situations that they don't want to be in. Juliet is a great example of that. Juliet, we know her backstory as a rewatcher, and we know that Juliet is there because of her sister. And I think she was taking her sister's spot to make sure that her sister could go home. And her sister's dying of cancer. No. I'm sorry. She's there to get her sister's cancer funded or paid for by being on the island to help with the baby situation.
She's there so that her sister does get better.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Like I said, it's been a few years since I've watched the show.
I want to jump in with this a little bit, and because I see every point that you're making, but I feel like with Sun's past is a little bit muddled, because yes, I do see how she's being forced into be certain ways. Like you mentioned, she's a son for Jin. She's a son for Mr. Paik, which is her father. But I also feel like there's parts of Sun where she's being a son for herself, and she wasn't manipulated into sleeping with Jay. That was a conscious choice that she did on her own. She wasn't forced into making a bad decision there. She made that bad decision on her own.
Absolutely.
But
did she make that decision on her own because she wanted to, or because she was desperate for a better life? Or
I think it's a little bit of both, but either way,
she wanted
to do it. And that was a conscious choice that she made. And that's the way I feel about anybody who does that to like a husband or wife. Like that's a conscious choice.
I can absolutely I can absolutely see that. I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I keep having something catch in my throat. So I apologize if I
it's fine.
If I keep clearing my throat.
But also on the same note with Juliet and Colleen, I feel like there's dynamic differences between the two of them, because the impression that I got with Colleen, and will never get again, is that I feel like Colleen's on board. Like, I don't think she's being forced into doing this. I think she's fully on Ben's side.
I don't think that she wanted to hurt Sun.
I don't think she wanted to hurt Sun either. But I mean, as far as the action of going to the boat to get Sun and to get the boat, I feel like she was fully on board for doing that.
Yeah,
I don't think she had any intention of hurting Sun. But I do believe that, because we have seen from what we've seen of them so far is that everything they've said is that we're not going to hurt you, with the exception of shocking people every once in a while. For the most part, they've lived up to that. They haven't murdered. They've murdered people, but it's weird. Like, we're in a weird transition with them.
Yeah, they have hurt people. I mean, they've hurt a lot of people, and they've lied to people. They've stolen people. They've kidnapped people. I mean, and this is another point that I have for later in our discussion, but for the sake of right now, I think that Colleen saying that, Sun wouldn't kill her because she's a good person. Sun was forced to kill Colleen. I really think that, Colleen forced Sun's hand in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Colleen didn't think that Sun was going to do that. And I think that was just underestimating, just because you know somebody on paper and you've read their file doesn't mean that you really know that person. And it doesn't mean that they haven't evolved since being crash landed on an island for 3 months.
I also think that Colleen's death was, the way I looked at it when I watched it, and I thought this both times I watched it, is that I don't think she forced Sun's hand. I actually think that was accidental. I think Sun being startled by the engine starting is really what made that happen. I think she got startled and she pulled the trigger.
I
think it was completely accidental.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't. I think that she killed her on purpose. I think that she felt cornered. But then when you go and you see her escaping off the boat, you see Tom Friendly, who we know is a good guy, and he shoots at Sun. So, you have all these people that I think are really good people at the crux of it, but they're being controlled by a lunatic.
Well, but
And
here's
it's made them do bad things as a result.
And I agree with that. And I think one of the things is we get this overarching, theory and story about how these are the chosen people for this island. They're the chosen people from these numbers, and they're good people until they do bad things. And then once they do bad things, they're no longer good people, which means they're no longer of any use to them. So it was funny how Colleen went down into that cabin to confront Sun, and she told Sun, I know you're a good person, but if you do this, we become your enemy. And it wasn't until Sun pulled the trigger on Colleen that everybody started shooting at them. And that Tom Friendly started shooting at Sun, and but I also found it interesting.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that everybody's just trying to live their life, right? But they're being forced into this standoff. They're being forced. Sun's feeling like she's cornered and she has no other way out. So she feels forced to kill Colleen, to shoot Colleen, to get herself out of that situation, which then makes the other people that are on the boat, they are now forced to react and to be the enemy now, when they're really not. And none of their intentions are that. Maybe Saeed is the only one whose intention is to kill people in this entire instance. I don't think anybody else was ready to kill anybody else. And I think that it was all these people that were forced into this situation. And it's all because Ben wanted a boat. And Ben was in a panic and reactionary mode. I think that that's the driving force there. And there's just, I just want to take a moment and just kind of talk about that just for a second, just because I do think that all these people are just reacting off of Ben's impulses right now, or their own impulses or whatever. But when they're off the island, they're not these people. Now they're on the island and they've become these people, these survivalists that are good people. Maybe not Sun. Maybe, I don't know. Sun's always on a journey. But these are inherently good people that have been forced to do bad things. I mean, even Saeed's a beautiful example of this. On the island, off the island, his entire arc is that he's this beautiful person that has been forced into this life of being a torturer and being a manipulator and being a fighter and a warrior. When really, I think he just wanted to sit on a blanket with Shannon for the rest of his life, Yeah.
No, I agree with that too. And I'm going to kind of jump points here a little bit.
Yeah, do it. Because I'm pretty much done.
To kind of just tie into what you were saying about maybe not Sun. There's something that very obviously I'm jumping all the way to Jay's death. And I'm calling it Jay's death because I read a very interesting...
Because he died?
Well, because yes, you jackass. Because he died. Smart ass. But no, I'm saying death and not suicide. Because I've read a very interesting theory online in that Jay may not have jumped. He may have been pushed.
By who?
By Sun. And there's some interesting evidence that could play into this. I think it's a very loose theory. It's not a lot. It's not very tight in its evidence, but there is evidence. There is the evidence of, he falls on Jin's car. He's holding the pearls. So it's very easy to believe. And I do believe this is the truth, in that after the confrontation from Jin thinks he's doing something for Mr. Paik. In the meantime, Jay thinks he's being confronted by the husband of the wife he slept with, of the woman he slept with.
Yeah.
They're there for two. They're looking at each other eye to eye, but because of it, they're not seeing each other eye to eye.
They're having both, two different conversations that seem to line up perfectly.
Yes, exactly. That's the best way I could have put it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But when we get that scene later, we know that Sun knows that Mr. Paik has walked in on them. He knows about her adulterous affair. She also knows later on that her father has sent him to do a favor and deliver a message. She has to put those two things together. She has to know those two things are hand in hand. So after he dies and she's at the funeral, she doesn't confront her father. She doesn't confront Jin. She just kind of knows these actions have played out, which leads people to believe that there's a possibility she did it herself. I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm not saying I believe it, but there's a little bit of evidence to support that. At least in my opinion.
I don't know.
Because Sun is very intelligent. She had to have put those two things together.
Long shot.
Oh, again, like I said, I'm not saying that I believe that it's the truth. But there is that theory that I've read online that Sun was the one that pushed him and it wasn't him who committed suicide. But then again, I don't know. You know, it's just something that I read online and I figured I'd share.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, you know, I plan to watch these episodes again over the next week. So maybe I'll watch with that in mind and see if that plays out a little bit differently when I watch it. Lastly, though, before we move on from this point, because I didn't mention it, is Juliet. Juliet is we only touched on it, but Juliet is such a prime example of a good person that has been forced into a bad situation and forced to do bad things, because Sawyer says, I saw that woman and that blonde woman would have shot you without question. And I believe that Sawyer knows that in somebody's eyes. I believe that his past has earned him in this series, his character, this has earned him a little bit of trust with the fact that this is probably a true statement. And for her to go from, you know, this really incredible OBGYN doctor that is on the island to save her sister to somebody who in their eyes would kill another human being just to prove a point. That's a big example of how quickly a good person can fall under Ben's leadership on the island.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree with that. Sawyer always has a good read on people. That's something that's something. And that leads me into another point too. And it's actually one of my two favorite points of this episode.
Awesome.
Is that I compare Sawyer, and hear me out on this. Sawyer is a velociraptor.
Out of everything that you could have said, that is not, I did not see that one coming.
Hear me out on this. We get that scene with the whole flirty with him and Juliet, which is a big foreshadowing of stuff to come from the future.
I know. It was so exciting when they met. I actually smiled when they met. I didn't even care.
I did too. Him pouring out the water and then kissing Kate to kind of get into that scuffle. And we find out later on he did it because he was testing them. He wanted to see what they knew, how strong they were. And when I say that Sawyer is a velociraptor, I compare him. It's just like out of Jurassic Park. There's the whole scene where the velociraptors kept running into the fences to test the fences. Mm-hmm. And they knew where the weak points in the fences were in order to escape. That's exactly what Sawyer is doing.
Well,
and that's
you put a feral character like Sawyer into a cage, he's going to act like a feral character. So that's a really good analogy there.
I mean, I know it sounded funny when I first said it because you didn't expect it. But think about it. That's exactly what he's doing. And that's exactly what the velociraptors in Jurassic Park did. They tested the fences to find the weakness so that they could escape. That's what he did. The people were the fences. They're his captors. They're the ones keeping him in. So he's going to to find their weaknesses so he knows when and where to strike. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did. And I love that about Sawyer.
It's so funny
Sawyer
because
is street smart.
Oh, yeah, totally. Kate looked a little disappointed that that's the reason why he kissed her. Didn't she?
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, he says, "Oh, and I did think about this too. We talked about this last week in Tale of Two Cities, with Kate being brought to the lunch table with Ben, and how she probably didn't eat. I think she ate. We just didn't see it.
Okay.
Because when Sawyer says, "You taste like strawberries," what was sitting on the table?
Oh.
A big bowl of strawberries. I think she ate, and we just didn't see it. Not that makes a difference in the story.
No, but
it's just something that they didn't show.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think she did. I think she did
drank
indeed
the Kool-Aid.
eat the food. Yeah, exactly. I just love how after he says you taste like strawberries, he calls her shortcake.
I know.
I love Sawyerisms. Sawyerisms are part of my favorite show. I love it.
I think I've seen a YouTube video like a long time ago where somebody strung together all of his nicknames. Like
that's got to be like it's got to be like a 10-minute long video.
Probably.
So where do you want to take us after that?
So I actually want to talk about something. Okay. I'm going to get a little spoilery here for a second, because a couple weeks ago, you and I were talking about who was at the Dharma Initiative when the Losties were there in the past, and who could remember, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ben and Sayid know each other. They know each other. Ben, in the episode He's Our You, I think it's in season 5 or season 6, I can't remember. Young Ben goes and sneaks food over to a captured Sayid. Mm-hmm. So, and the callback, and I know this because in the trivia for the wiki kind of brought me into this whole loop. The callback to that was in this episode when Ben said to Juliet, "You never made me soup." Because his father said to, because Ben's father said to Ben, "You never made me sandwiches," or "You never made me food," or something like that.
That's it. Okay.
Because he found out that Ben was taking food over to Sayid the prisoner. Okay, so Ben's been there. Ben should have known Sayid. So what is it that, like, what is his end game right now? Like, what is he doing? Because if he knows Sayid and he knows how Sayid operates, or he's talked to him, or, I mean, Sayid was the one that told Ben, you know, like, everything that was going to happen, or that they were in danger. There was an incident or something. I didn't watch the episode. I just looked over the notes, but there was a conversation about the future to Ben in Ben and Sayid's visits. So, you know, I don't know what kind of a deck Ben Linus is working with here. And I don't know what he remembers, if he remembers anything, right? Did the incident just wipe everybody's memory?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, do you think it could be just as simple as Ben just doesn't remember Sayid? I mean, we're talking like
significant
30 years
to remember. Ago. Yeah, but that seems significant. A prisoner that he made food for, that he got in a fight with his father over. You know, his life was pretty boring and pretty...
But let's also not forget that he goes through a serious trauma after that in being shot and almost dying.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying...
And it's actually Sayid that saves him when that happens. Sayid is the one that knows he has to or is it Sayid that shoots him? I might be confused.
Oh, I don't know.
Because
I would like that irony.
Because I do remember that young Ben is the one. Young Ben is shot and almost dies. And they take him.
I do remember that.
They take him to the temple because they realize he has to survive. In order for events to play out, he has to survive.
Right.
We're getting very spoilery. So for anybody who hasn't watched this far yet, we're sorry for the confusion. But we warned you. Spoiler full.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe the incident wipes the memories. Maybe it's the gunshot wound that resets him a little bit. Maybe he's had too many bong hits at some point that we didn't see. I don't know. But I would just think, you know, and what's funny is that, you know, there's this Ben and Sayid connection anyways. I mean, Sayid is playing is playing out this plan that Ben is in the middle of. I mean, Ben has Jack in one spot, and he's playing Jack with threatening Kate and Sawyer so that Jack will eventually do the surgery on Ben. So that is in process right now. If you're a first viewer, you don't know that that's what's happening, but that's what's happening right now. Saeed basically lays out that plan. He says, we need 2 people and we'll kill the rest. And they're saying, and Sun says, why 2? And he says, because that's how you get the other to talk, which is exactly what Ben is doing. Yep. Ben is doing a version of the same exact plan. So we have, this foreshadowing of what is happening on the other side of the island, or the other part of the island, or the other island.
Hydra Island.
Right. But what you have is Saeed's plan backfires while Ben's plan seems to keep chugging along. But you have what you kind of get a foreshadowing of what Ben is doing without even knowing that that's what you're getting.
And it's very interesting to note, too, there's a lot, because of those points that you just made, there are a lot of comparisons between Ben and Saeed. They're very similar in a lot of ways in that and how they're playing.
And a lot of people are going to want to, and a lot of people want to compare Ben and Jack because they're like these de facto leaders of their respective groups. But I think that you're right. I think that you could probably make a lot more connections with Ben and Saeed. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and it's very interesting to find, as we kind of touched on a little bit too, to realize that the connection between these 2 characters, it goes a lot deeper, and as we're going to find out in future seasons. Mm-hmm. Because as you mentioned, these 2 characters have already met years ago. They've already met.
Right. And what's funny is that Saeed doesn't know it because it hasn't happened to him yet, but Ben should know it because it has happened to him. That shit's crazy.
It's just a matter of whether or not he remembers.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. It's real interesting to kind of point out when we get to that point. We're gonna have to pay closer attention.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I love it when little stuff like this happens, like a breadcrumb trail has started, or if you're rewatching the show, you can see how other pieces of the puzzle fit together later by what is being prepped right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or you just have more questions about, wait a minute, so what I'd like to know of how much of the future of this show did these showrunners have at this present time? Because I'd like an explanation of what Ben knows right now. What does he remember? What does he know? Like, what is the deck that he's playing with? And I think that by the end of the show, it's okay. If by the end of the show or in a rewatch, it's okay to ask these questions, right?
Yeah. And I think, we've talked about this before, too, about how far in advance, like, the producers knew where they were going, and how people said that, like, they were completely lost and they didn't know where the show was headed. And I think there's definitely enough evidence to support that they had an outline, at the very least, as to where they wanted to go. They mentioned the incident. The incident comes into play later. The numbers come into play throughout. I think the writers and producers absolutely had an outline as to what the direction this show was going to go. I think where some people might get kind of lost and come to that belief that they didn't is that I think some of the details might be lacking. But the outline is there. They knew the direction this show was going to go.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that, there are some murky details at certain points in the show. Absolutely. A lot of people, like what Leda said, in the earlier feedback, that, the last season of Lost ruined the whole show for her, much like, Dexter did with that show. It's funny though, like when I rewatch Dexter, I just stop after the Barrel Girls season because I feel like that's a really good ending for all of the characters at the end of season the Barrel Girls season. I think it's season 5.
Season 5, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just a great ending. It's perfect. And to me, the show is successful. So I don't go on. The last season of Game of Thrones ruined the entire show for me. The entire show. I have a map of Westeros that's framed in my office and I can barely look at it right now. So I understand what the feeling of betrayal is on your favorite show. I understand how the last season of Lost can ruin the whole show for you. I hope that if you're listening to this podcast, that maybe we can help you learn to love the show again, even despite your feelings on the last season. And maybe when we get to the last season, we can all feel better about the show as a whole.
And I think if you're listening to this podcast and you're rewatching with us, I think that's because you want that to happen. I think you want to find a new love and appreciation for the podcast, for the show, because otherwise, why would you be rewatching with us?
Because they love the sound of our beautiful voices.
Well, that too. That could, well, one of our beautiful voices and me. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like I said, I think they absolutely had an outline for the way things that were going to go with this series. Yeah. And, it's a matter of letting things play out now and just kind of rediscovering everything as we've been going through too. Because, as we mentioned, Matt was on his fourth rewatch, and I think that's probably about where I am too. Is this might be my fourth rewatch of the series?
4. Yeah, I'd say this is 4 or 5 for me. I was on bed rest for a lot of my first pregnancy, and Lost was like my jam during that time. So I have no idea how many times I watched it.
Yeah. And we mentioned like series that kind of ruined everything. I haven't rewatched Dexter since it ended because that last season ruined it. And, we talk about other series too. And how you mentioned you just don't watch past season 5 of Dexter. I don't watch past season 9 or season 8 of How I Met Your Mother because the ending of How I Met Your Mother ruined the series for me.
Yeah, that was a terrible last season as well. Maybe one day we'll do We'll do an episode of what last season ruined it all.
Yeah. We'll get to that because there's enough of them out there that we could spend a whole conversation on that. But let's get back into Glass Ballerina.
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent there for a second, but it does correlate to what we were talking about just because of the Ben and Saeed connection and the overall arc of both of their characters, especially considering what happens in the future / present / past.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't, it gets a little confused.
And all the manipulation that Ben does to Saeed off the island. Holy shit, I totally forgot about that. He makes him an assassin off the island.
Oh, well, yeah, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
No, I understand that. But it's like with everything that Ben knows about Saeed from the past and then everything that he does to Saeed, it's just, it's a very complicated relationship that these two have, even when they're apart.
Yes. Well, I mean, again, it goes back to what we were saying, too, about how there is a much deeper connection between these two characters. We just haven't even scratched the surface for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And up until this point, oh, no, they have. Never mind. I was going to say, have Saeed and Ben been face to face, but they absolutely have.
A little bit.
It's Saeed is the one that calls him out on being named Henry Gale. Yeah.
They've been fist to face.
That too. Yep. Yeah. They've been locked in a room together. So I don't even know why I was questioning that.
Oh, because we're on about 8 different threads right now. So
yeah, probably.
What do you got?
So, real quick, did you happen to notice what Jay's room number was? I'll take that as a no.
Oh, I think was it 815?
No, it's 1516. And the metronome that Sun is playing the piano to is set at a tempo of 108.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I want to bring up something, and I want to get your take on this.
I disagree.
Okay. Well, then I'll move on. I like how we get to, and this again goes into the intelligence of Sun, and I feel like in the first part in the flashback, it's probably there if you go with that theory that she might have potentially killed Jay. But how she could most likely put the connection between the two, that, you know, she knows her father knows about her and Jay. So Jin is sent to deliver a message. She has to put the two of them hand in hand. You know, if not, she's a little naive into to not believe that. But also going to everything that's happening on the island, and we get that reveal moment that Jin pretty much understands every word that they are saying. Even though he can't speak English, he's gotten to a point now where he can understand it. How does Sun or even Saeed not realize that that's probably the case at this point? Because there are even moments where he has spoken English to Sun. So you have to know he's gaining a knowledge of the English language.
I think that Sun and Saeed are two pretty arrogant people. I think that, and in different ways. I think Sun thinks that she has a power over Jin with her knowledge of English that maybe has kind of muddled her perception of her husband. And I think that Saeed is so focused on the task at hand, and he's so confident in his ability as an individual, that I think that he thinks that he's got a handle on everything around him. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think that the arrogance of both of Sun and Saeed are kind of manifest in different ways.
Do you think it might be because the two characters together, that's what kind of creates that arrogance, but separate they're actually not as arrogant? If that's understandable, if what I said came across.
Yeah, say that sentence again.
Do you believe that maybe these two characters are arrogant only because that's kind of the cohesiveness that forms when these two characters interact with each other, and separately they're not nearly as naive? Like, they kind of bring out this arrogance in each other.
Maybe that's a thought. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's, you know, the feeling of being the stronger of the two when it comes to Sun and Jin. Maybe I don't know. That's a good question. That's something to think about.
But it brings me, I wanted to bring that up to get to the point that I was actually going to make, and the question the question I wanted to pose to you, because I kind of had to bring that up in order to get to this point. There's a conversation that happens between Sun and Saeed, and it's where after Jin asks for the gun and they get the realization that he understands everything, and it's Saeed tells Sun that she's probably safer on the boat. And he tells Saeed, Saeed tells Sun that there is a gun hidden under the tarp. And, you know, if they get to the boat, you should use it. And she's like, if they get to the boat, it means my husband is dead and I just don't care anymore. And Saeed says, as I said, the gun is inside the tarp. Do you think this is, how do you take that statement? Because
I don't know.
It can be taken in one of two ways. It can be like, as I said, the gun is inside the tarp, meaning don't give up, defend yourself. Or if you don't care anymore, don't be taken hostage, meaning use it on yourself.
I have a few problems with this exchange. The first one with Sun not caring enough to live if her husband is dead when she's carrying her husband's child inside of her. Possibly. I mean, we know ultimately that it is Jin's baby. Right now, she doesn't know.
But this episode does call into question who is the father.
Right. But for her to be willing to die with, you know, with a baby in her belly, it says a little bit about her, I think. And Saeed, I'm really hoping, I'm going to choose to believe that Saeed is saying,
don't give up.
Defend yourself.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Yes. Not end it, bitch.
But you see my point, how that could be taken the other way.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. You know, I think everybody was a little, look, the whole plot of these three, it was a little wonky. I think it was actually a little weak It was a little. It wasn't the strongest plot that we've seen so far. I think that it was really muddled, maybe not thought through very well.
Well,
because I mean, there's a lot going on and not a lot of it links together or makes a lot of sense.
I can tell you right now, just to kind of further your point, the last 5 to 10 minutes of the episode were, to me, the most riveting of the episode. To me, the last 5 minutes were the most interesting. I mean, that's not to say I hated everything that happened in this episode, but to me, those last 5 minutes were the part of the episode, and we'll get to them, I'm sure. That was the part of the episode that really made me sit up in my chair and be like, what the hell is going on?
Was it
with
Jack and Jack?
Jack and Ben.
Yeah, Jack and Ben. Yeah, Jack and Ben, Sawyer and Kate, those were the strong parts of the episode, which really stinks because, you know, Jin and Sun are two of my favorite characters. So, you know, it just sucks that the episode had to fall flat a little bit. I think that calling back to Sun's father is an old trope from the first season, and I really think that Sun's father just needed to be let go already. But, you know, it paints a picture, it tells a story.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I'll question, and then I'll pose a question to you, and then I'll turn it back over to you.
Yep. We
get the whole moment that you mentioned about how Sun kind of escapes from the hatch on the boat and rolls over, and Sin, god damn it. Jin and Sun, that's their ship name, is Sin. Jin and Sun are kind of reunited out in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chill realizing that is kind of a foreshadowing as to the fate of these characters?
Of course I did. I sat there, I was like, no, get out of the water. It's not time yet.
Yes, exactly. It is a horrible foreshadowing of the fate of these two characters. And that moment where they're in the water together, I'm like, oh, stop it. Just get out of the water.
I know. It makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's really a shame. I don't think maybe they knew yet at that point that was going to be the fate of those characters, or at least that was going to be how their fate played out. But it's because of we know what the fate of those characters are. It gave me a chill kind of to watch that.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it back over to you. What else do you have for the episode?
Let's see.
I can hear you. I hear you crossing out your notes.
We've touched on a bunch of this stuff. You know what? I'll just ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
That we'll talk about at the end. Now, do you think when Jin saw who he was sent to send the message to, do you think that he knew?
No. I don't think he had any idea that there was anything going on between him and Sun. I think he was completely naive to that. I don't think he had any kind of a clue. I think he was just doing his job I think he kind of got guilted into it by Mr. Paik, and he did what he did. And I think the whole Paik calling him son for the first time, maybe kind of got in his head a little bit. And here's the thing, though. Yes, it's a dick move to call him son, but at the same time, do I agree with do I think what Mr. Paik sent him to do was right? Absolutely not. Like, you could tell in that conversation, he didn't just want a message delivered. He wanted an example made of Jay. And it's because he felt dishonored by his daughter doing what she did and him being a part of that. But I do feel like there was a part of Mr. Paik that kind of felt for Jin at the same time by sending Jin to do that.
No. No.
Do you think he was just he was making a point in having Jin do this?
I think that he might have wanted Jin to find out. He might have wanted maybe Jin to walk in on both of them so that it could be their business. I think that, Mr. Paik is by far the most selfish man that ever existed in the history of oppressive fathers. And he basically just wanted to have Jay killed to make a point to Sun to stay in line. I mean, he's an abusive man. And he manipulated the situation for his benefit because he felt shamed and he felt embarrassed for himself. He didn't care about why his daughter was there. He didn't care. He's never cared about his daughter. I mean, you saw that from the very beginning of the episode. He never cared about her. And he saw that he was raising a liar and he didn't care. He's like, hey, I'm going to have to fire the maid if you don't tell me the truth. She's like, yeah, it was the maid. Well, okay. I mean, he didn't want to teach her a lesson. He just wanted to save face and he taught her to do the same thing, to just save face whenever possible. He's a terrible guy. I don't think he had any affection for Jin ever.
Okay.
That's just me.
No.
I don't think that he really liked his daughter either. I think he wanted a son, probably.
I do agree with that. I do think he was kind of resentful of his daughter in that he just didn't care for her at all. You're right. The whole
He named his daughter Sun.
What does that have to do
Haha.
with? Oh, I get it. That took me a second. And that's what he really wanted.
Boom, boom.
Yep. No. Okay.
Robin Charles Scherbatsky.
Did you?
Sorry.
This just totally made my mind completely derail. But you know Drew Carey, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what his middle name is?
Charles.
Allison. I don't know why my mind went there.
That's why he's a comedian.
Yep. No, I can see your point. You kind of changed my mind about that. I kind of thought that maybe he felt for Jin a little bit, but I think you're right. I think he just didn't. He was just doing it to remove the shame from himself.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sorry for stepping on you too. That wasn't very polite of me.
No, that was very Mr. Pake of you, but it's okay. No, it's totally fine. It happens. I want to jump back to the whole Colleen and Ben interaction because I'm
pretty much done with Jin and Sun. Are you?
Yeah, I am actually. I have no other notes on Jin and Sun.
Me neither.
I kind of want to jump back to that whole interaction because there's something very interesting that happens in that scene. It's the first time in seeing Henry, Benry, or Ben, however you call him. It's the first time we see a genuine look of surprise from his face.
Yes!
Because Colleen tells him, and they have a sailboat, and he gets that look, and he's like, how? Like, he is genuinely in shock that they have a sailboat, which means this kind of jumps back to our point a little bit. He knew nothing about Desmond. He knew nothing about Desmond because he would have
crazy to me, especially with all those monitors.
Yep. He would have known. Well, don't forget that the monitors to the hatch were in the Pearl station. They weren't in the Hydra station where he is now. So it seems like only certain hatches can look into other hatches. There isn't like a centralized monitoring station. Or that was the Pearl. The Pearl was the centralized monitoring station. So, which you could tell they haven't been to, at least not in a long time. So, yeah.
They haven't even picked up the books.
Exactly. They haven't looked. Well, we found out, too, that the books just kind of go in the middle of nowhere. That was kind of like another centralized experiment. But
I'd set all of that on fire.
The fact that he didn't know about that boat means he had no idea who Desmond was or that Desmond was even there. Because he would have, just like he's done with every one of those passengers, he would have looked into Desmond's life.
Okay, but Kelvin had the ship. Does that mean that he didn't know about Kelvin? Does that mean he didn't know about the Swan Station? I mean, was that just missing from his knowledge? I mean, because Kelvin and Desmond were in there, and Kelvin had the boat. And Desmond wanted to go home. I don't know. I mean, how do you hide that huge sailboat and Kelvin and that Dharma station and Desmond? I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. It's just that's a lot not to know about on the island.
I think that he knew that Kelvin was there, but if he didn't know about Desmond, he doesn't know about Kelvin and the boat. Because he doesn't know the boat exists. As far as Ben is concerned, Kelvin is in the hatch by himself. So why would he ever think that Kelvin ever leaves?
It's weird that for somebody with such control issues wouldn't be monitoring that situation.
He might not have known that there was a way to do it. He might not have known about the pearl, or he just didn't care. You know, if he believes that Kelvin is in there by himself, which if he doesn't know is Desmond, that's got to be his belief. Why would he concern himself with somebody who can never leave that hatch? As long as
but he knew how to contact others through the computer system.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't. Michael didn't show up until after lockdown, when we don't know what Ben did in the other room before lockdown ended.
Okay. All right.
He could have sent a signal to say like, "Hey, I'm trapped. I'm at the Swan Station. Send help. That's where I am. They're probably going to kill me soon." And that's how they got Michael to leave the hatch, by pretending to be Walt. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I'm honestly asking these questions.
No, and I get that too. You're right. It just brings up further questions, because I mean, I think it is pretty clear that he didn't know about Desmond. But you're right. That poses other questions. Is like, why did he not know about Desmond, and how are there other things that he knew about and not other things? Or
did he really think that Desmond just left or shipwrecked? Or, I mean, maybe he saw Desmond leave, but he didn't come back. Or maybe he thought that Desmond found the coordinates to leave. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I just found it very interesting that that's the first moment of true surprise that we get out of Ben.
Right. You know, I turn it over to the listeners. If you guys have answers to any of these questions, I'd be really happy.
Yeah. What are we missing? Like, are we missing something with this? Yeah. Please let us know.
Which direction do I need to go to read up on this?
Yeah, exactly. I want to go into the whole Jack and Ben of it by the end of the episode. But before we do you have any other notes on the episode before we get into that?
The only other thing that I have other than the Jack and Ben stuff is that I have this note. It's just the last thing that I wrote down. It's Ben asks too much of people.
Okay.
So I guess I thought that at some point in the episode.
You don't remember why you thought that? You just know you did.
No, it's a random note.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. But, I guess I'm just going to say that sentence. Ben asks too much of people. There you go. I did it.
All right. I have two other notes besides the Ben and Jack stuff.
Okay.
You know, obviously we at one point see, you know, Kate and Sawyer breaking rocks, and they're attempting to build something. I have 2 questions with this. One, do we ever discover what they're building? Or two, we do see other workers there working on stuff. Are these people actual workers, or are they also other prisoners? Or people being punished, rather? Like, are Kate and Sawyer the only two people there being punished, and everybody else is a legitimate worker?
I don't know. And why is Alex hiding?
Well, Alex was my other note, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, good. Yay. We're on the same page.
Yep. Yeah, because, you know, we get her asking about Carl, which kind of answers the question from last week as to whether or not Carl was a plant. And we get the answer this week in that he wasn't. He was another prisoner, just like Kate and Sawyer.
Yeah, Ben didn't like his daughter's girlfriend.
His daughter's boyfriend?
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you said girlfriend.
No, I said it the other way. I'm not, I didn't.
Sure, we can go with that.
Yeah, see? It's fine.
All right. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we ever discover what's being built there. If there's anything being built at all. I think it could just be moving rocks from point A to point B as a form of punishment.
Yeah, I mean, they had a decoy village. They have costumes that they wear when they want to look like they're primitive. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, all I know is that we're getting to some really interesting episodes coming up. In next week when we talk about further instructions, we kind of take a break from Hydra Island, and we focus more on back to the other survivors. We come back to Hydra Island again in episode 4 and episode 6, but 5 I think is again going back to the survivors. I think we kind of flip flop now until episode 6, which was when they took a break for the writer's strike, which I've made points about before, is an episode I love to hate because the ending of that episode pissed me off.
Was the writer's strike.
They took a break from it in all essence, it doesn't seem like that long because it was from the beginning of November till the beginning of February. So it's about a 4-month break. But at that,
I think it ruined Prison Break.
Well, at that time, that was unheard of. Shows didn't take that long of a break.
Right.
They went on break for maybe like a month over Christmas, and then they came back. So for Lost to take a 4-month break, and then all these other shows like Prison Break, as you mentioned, to take a break for that long because of this writer's strike, it pissed me off because we knew they were taking a break. And the way that episode ended,
you didn't know if it was coming back.
No, I knew it was coming back, but it ended in such a huge cliffhanger. Knowing that I had to wait for 4 months pissed me off.
Hey, man, I had to wait almost 2 years for the shit show that was the final season of Game of Thrones. So, it is what it is. Yeah. So,
I also want to note too that episode 7, there is a cameo appearance by somebody who I've met and worked with. So I can't wait till we get to that and we get to talk about that.
Before we move on to Ben and Jack.
Yes.
We do have we have 2 big things with Sawyer. 1, he meets Juliet, which we've already covered. And 2, he properly introduces himself to Kate with his real name. Which Kate calls him James, I think, for the rest of the series.
But I
don't think she calls him Sawyer again.
I think he's been called James in front of her before. I think Locke does it.
I don't think so.
I might have to go back because I'm pretty sure Locke has called him James in front of Kate before.
She would have already asked that question then.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly. But I also think it's interesting to note too that there are 2 new names in the credits this season. That being
Michael Emerson.
No. Nikki Fernet, Kylie Sanchez, and Rodrigo Santoro.
Yeah.
As Nikki and Paolo, which I saw those names and I got irked. I'm like, oh, why do we have to talk about those 2?
Yeah, but those 2 are such good actors anyway, so just leave it alone.
They're good actors, but they're still,
They played their part.
I guess.
Leave them alone.
I guess. I guess that's okay. So let's talk about the end. Let's talk about Jack and Ben, because again, to me, those last 5 minutes were the most intriguing to me. They were the ones that really made me sit up at attention and be like, okay, like what's going on? And it's the first time we hear Ben's real name. We know his name is Ben at this point, but we don't know his name is Benjamin Linus. This is the first time we're getting his name in full for the first time.
And that he lived on the island his whole life.
Which is not the truth.
Correct.
That's a lie, as we will find out later. That's a lie.
That is a lie.
The lie detector test determined that's a lie.
Well, he's a liar. So,
I mean, there's elements of truth to that because he has lived on that island a majority of his life, but he has not lived there all his life. He came to that island as a kid with his father. So, but we'll get to that as we go there. But if out of anybody on that island, if there's anybody else in the group of others who has the right to say they've been there pretty much like all their life, it's him. Because he's been there a majority of his life.
Okay.
All right. Nothing to say to that. That's fine. But the most interesting part of this to me, and this is kind of where we'll wrap up discussion on the episode, is when the television is brought in.
And the Sox won the series after all.
Which is, going into the whole, that was what his father used to tell him all the time. And that's why the Sox will never win the World Series.
He looked absolutely shell-shocked that he missed the Sox winning the series. I mean, that was an incredible nonverbal acting feat by Matthew Fox. I almost called him Matthew Shepard.
Matt Shepard.
That's why I paused there for a second. I was like, it's not Shepard, Kristen, get it together. But that was just like, I'm a huge Laker fan, and I remember when the Lakers won the first time after that really long drought. And it wasn't really long as far as like the Sox go, but it was a long drought for the Lakers. And that feeling of just elation when it happened. And or when the Saints won the Super Bowl, they went from the Aints to the Saints. I mean, there's if you're a sports fan, or when the Cubs won the World Series. I'm not a huge Cubs fan, but I'm pretty good friends with a Cubs family, and holy cow, I mean, they didn't stop celebrating, I think, for like a year. So I just felt that moment with Jack Shepard, and I just thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. That was fantastic acting from Matthew Fox. I know, we criticize Jack a lot. But this was one of those episodes where I have no criticisms of Jack at all. I mean, and this is where we're going to see this is a breaking point for Jack. This is a moment where he kind of starts to accept things the way they are. And, we talked a little bit about how Juliet kind of broke the feral animal in him. And Ben just continues with that in this. And he does it in more of a humane way in telling him, like, I can get you home. And not only does he say, like, I can take you home. I can take you home. He proves it by showing him that they have connection to the outside world. Jack no longer feels isolated. In that meaning, he no longer feels like a crash victim. He now all it takes is that little glimpse of hope to a connection of the outside world to kind of reel him in and calm him down.
See, but Ben knows that that's what Jack needs to get Jack to do what Ben wants him to do. He can't do that with people like Sawyer and Kate, who have nothing to go home to. Sun and Jin have nothing really to go home to. Saeed has nothing to go home to. Hurley would have something to go home to, but other than Hurley, I can't think of anybody that could have that work on other than Jack. So Ben knows Jack pretty well enough to know what could get him to be compliant with what Ben needs from him.
Well, not only that, but Jack has a specific skill that Ben needs. And that's his hands. He needs him to perform surgery. Hurley can't do that for him. Sawyer and Sawyer and Kate, Saeed, none of them can do that for him. Jack is the only one that can do this. So right now, to Ben, Jack is the most important person.
Right. No, I understand that. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, trying to entice anybody else with the outside world, I don't think would work on anybody else.
No, I agree with you. Which
shows that he knows who he's dealing with, which is completely different than the situation that Ben was earlier in with the Losties, and the fact that they had no idea who he was. All they knew was that there are other people on the island that have kidnapped and killed their people, and that they weren't going to let him go for anything. So it's the same situation from two totally different perspectives.
Yeah. But it also kind of shows another connection between Saeed and Ben, and that the two of them are very similar in that they can both get a read on people.
Yes.
Sawyer is good at reading people. Saeed is good at reading people, but Ben is also really good at reading people. I mean, look how well he played John Locke. and now he knows how to, he's got a read on Jack.
Which makes me think he could have, now that you say that, he could have been watching John Locke this whole time.
Yeah, he could have been.
The reason why there's no monitoring at the hatch at the end of that episode when we see Ben looking in on Sawyer and Kate, I think is because the hatch is gone now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the hatch is
right.
Exploded.
So with the hatch being gone, there would be no more monitoring, so we wouldn't see him watching the hatch in this instance.
So you think that the monitors could be watching other things as well, and they're just not showing it because there's no reason to see it anymore.
Right.
That makes sense.
Or I don't know. I mean, seriously, I don't know. But for him to play Locke as well as he did, he had to have known more than just eavesdropping through the door.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Or if I'm wrong, tell me.
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I still think that those monitors are a little limited because I think we'd see static from a monitor if it was no longer monitoring
That'd
the
be
hatch.
Cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool because it would be
like
an Easter egg indication that things were not well at the hatch.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Yeah,
bad things are afoot at the Swan Station.
Right, exactly.
So
the Circle of Swan.
The Circle of Swan. Any final notes on the episode before we move into the feedback?
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
it always happens. We always talk more when we don't have as.
We don't have
notes.
A lot of notes. Yep.
But we went off script so much in this one.
It happens.
It does. I don't care.
It always happens.
It's fun.
But yeah, as we mentioned, we do have some listener feedback as well. But before we go into that, as we said at the top, we want to encourage you guys to leave us feedback at the same time. And there are multiple ways that you can do that. First and foremost, we are on Facebook at facebook.com/Lost Revisited.
We are kind of on Instagram at Lost Revisited Pod. Still can't log in.
Yeah,
I've been locked out of this account. We may have to start over.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
You can email us at lostrevisitedpod@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to leave a message, you can record yourself and send it to our email address.
Which we have feedback from people who have done that this week, and that our buddy Steve has sent us another voicemail.
Yeah.
As he always does.
I love him.
Real quick, I know we have another piece of listener feedback from Lita. I'm assuming. I apologize if we pronounce your name wrong. And it's very quick. It's just one sentence, and I think it even goes back to last week's episode. But if you wanna mention that real quick, unless you don't have it in front of you, and I can read it.
No, I can do it.
Okay.
Lita comes. This was just about A Tale of Two Cities, but she said, she said, my mouth is dry from the thought of the taste of those fish biscuits. That's it. Lita, a.k.a. Rose of Rose and Bernard fame.
Which leaves us with the other final piece of feedback, and that is a voicemail from our buddy Steve Brown. So let's go ahead and play that now.
Hello, Ben and Kristen. This is Steve, and this is for The Glass Ballerina, Lost Season 3. And, it was interesting, that scene on the boat. For a moment, the old Jen comes back, but then, he pulls back when Sun shows her strength, the strength and the knowledge that she has of being able to sail the boat. I really like that. Does Ben really want the boat, you think, or does he just not want our group to have it? I don't know. I loved Sawyer's observational skills, not only in the fighting, but just in how he saw the guy looking at Colleen and all that. I absolutely love seeing this Jen and Sun relationship in this light, because I never watched it this way before when I rewatched the show. So it's nice to get this new perspective on seeing how much they truly love each other, And when did that night or time with the other guy occur, it had to be pretty close because we know pretty close to when they make the trip to Australia because she isn't sure about who the father is. Remember, I know that's later, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. This is the first time we get to see Saeed and Jin in a little bit, but not really, make a tactical mistake, really, because he had no idea they were going to be looking for the boat. And I like that Sun must have realized they had come from the water because she didn't hear any shots on the beach, so she didn't think Jin was dead, as she had told Saeed. And I thought that was supposed to be a solo sailboat race around the world. Why does the boat have a motor? Is that I mean, I thought that was interesting. And the other people that are working at this site, who are they? And anyway, my 2 minutes are up. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah,
Can I just say really quick, Steve, I miss you so much. I love hearing your voice so much. It is so good to hear. It's so good to hear you.
You say that every week, but I don't disagree with you at all.
I know. I miss my friend Steve.
Yeah. We brought up the whole thing about who the other workers are, and that's kind of a mystery at the same time. As far as the boat goes, even sailboats, even if it's just a one-person race, most boats are still going to have motors. They're more for docking procedures and things like that, or if you're caught in a place where there is no wind and you still have to return back. So even sailboats have motors. So that I didn't think anything of there being a motor in that sailboat.
I know nothing about sailing, so I think cool. They know how to do that. That's the extent of my knowledge.
But it is interesting too to point out that he's right. Saeed kind of did make a tactical error in that he was assuming they were going to come from one direction and they weren't coming for them. They were coming for the boat. So it's a matter of how you look at things. And yeah,
but how were they supposed to know that they were coming for the boat? I mean, their entire experience has been these people are out for their people. So to come for the boat, that's actually an outlier in what has been happening over the course of their stay on the island.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. So okay, so maybe not as much of a tactical error as just a misjudgment.
I feel like I'm being really argumentative today, and I'm really sorry.
No, you're not being argumentative. You're just debating points, and that's one of the reasons why I like podcasting with you.
All right. I just for some reason, as we're wrapping this up, I'm like, gosh, I have to chill.
It's all because of Matt's show feedback and how we agree with each other too much. Yeah. That's the reason why. Okay. But I think that's going to wrap it up for discussion on the episode and for listener feedback. Again, we as we got two new listeners bringing in feedback this week, we encourage you guys to leave us feedback for future episodes. Next week, we are talking about further instructions, which is all about, I think, is a Locke flashback.
It's a Locke flashback, yes.
Okay, all right. So I was correct in that too. And
him becoming a hunter.
That's right. Yeah, and we're kind of we're taking a break from Hydra Island for a little bit and focusing more back on the Losties and the beach, and
because I like them,
and the aftermath of the hatch.
Yay!
And the aftermath of that whole incident. So yeah, any final notes from you before we wrap things up?
No. I actually, I have a recommendation. I don't know if I've recommended this yet, but we just finished John Adams, which was a
fantastic series.
So good. It was so good, so good, and it really. I'm a huge nerd for American Revolution history. I read anything and everything I can get my hands on from that time period and the founding fathers and the start of our country.
I have been to Valley Forge National Park with you. I know how you are.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a nerd, which is fine. But but this really opened my eyes on some stuff that I hadn't really known about since or before, and it actually formed some of old opinions into new opinions. And I just, if you're looking for something kind of brainy to watch and really entertaining, I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime.
And
give it a watch.
It's a fantastic. It was originally an HBO series.
Yes, it's also on HBO. Yeah.
Yep. It was only 7 episodes, so it's pretty easy to get through. But Paul Giamatti is a fantastic John Adams.
Laura Linney is incredible as Abigail Adams.
David Morse as George Washington is fantastic.
There is, when it's his inauguration day, for Washington's inauguration scene in John Adams, you actually believe George Washington is on set. It's incredible. There is a far away pan. There's a pan shot of the whole room, and he's in the black crushed velvet suit with the white I don't know, scarf thing, and his powdered wig, and the way that he's standing. He wore a nose that looked exactly like Washington's nose. It's scary how accurate it is. So, and Stephen Delane, who was Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones, he plays Thomas Jefferson. He's fantastic as Thomas Jefferson. Tom Wilkinson
as Ben Franklin. That's the one I was going to say. He is amazing.
And he won a Golden Globe and an Emmy for his role as Ben Franklin, and he was fantastic. The whole thing, start to finish, is fantastic. And I just before fall TV starts, and if you're looking for something to watch, I highly recommend it.
You're making me want to go back and watch it, and I already have so much other stuff to watch.
No, you have to watch New Girl.
I know. I knew that you were going to say that.
That's because you're not allowed to watch anything else other than that. Or Rachel and I are going to kill you.
Yes, I know. I'm getting to it. It's funny because we mentioned Tom Wilkinson as Ben Franklin. I love Tom Wilkinson. When he plays those historic characters, when he played, I think he was Cornwallis in The Patriot.
Oh yeah,
The Patriot. See, I get a lot of criticism because I put The Patriot above Braveheart.
I can see that.
I think Braveheart is an amazing movie, but I think The Patriot is it's so historically inaccurate, but as in it's a fictional story told during the Revolutionary War, but It's still, I find it so intriguing and I love it. I put that movie above Braveheart, and I will watch that movie anytime that it's on. And I think he plays,
I love both of those movies, so we're good.
I'm pretty sure he's Cornwallis in The Patriot.
Yeah. And if anybody actually likes, American history stuff or revolutionary stuff or anything like that, you can message me. I have a whole stack of books that I can recommend. That I've got a whole bookshelf of books that I've read that are phenomenal. Joseph J. Ellis is my favorite historian. He's amazing. Like Ben said, I am a complete and utter nerd for this stuff. More so than I am a nerd for probably anything else. Which is saying something.
Yeah, it is. You know what? I like this whole giving recommendations at the end for other stuff that we like. Yeah. So I'm going to make one. Cool. This is a new series that I've been watching. It's only 6 episodes this season, but and there's only been 4 so far, so there's still 2 more. I know you know this about me by now, but I am a huge Gordon Ramsay fan. I love Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares, Hotel Hell, all those shows. He actually has another show right now on Nat Geo. So it's more educational, but it's called Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. And it's basically him traveling the world, going and meeting with indigenous people to the country that they're in, and learning about all these unique flavors from natural foods and natural elements, and then challenging himself at the end with all these local foods to put together a meal. And he cooks for the indigenous people to see how they think, what they think about his cooking of their ingredients. And I
love it.
It's great because you get to see like the landscapes of all these beautiful countries. You get to, and it's not just him like going to like a shop and getting these ingredients. Like if these ingredients are found at the bottom of a waterfall, he is going down to the bottom of the waterfall to get them. You know,
and he's nice to them, right?
Oh yeah, he's nice.
Okay.
That's a whole. It's a character that he plays.
No, I know. I'm just being funny.
But it is funny that you bring that up because he did go to one. I think he was in Australia, episode 4, this last episode, and he goes into a restaurant to try this local cuisine that they have there, and the woman doesn't want to serve him because he's mean, because she thinks he's mean.
Because he is.
It's a character.
Blah blah. He's got a reputation and he doesn't care. But that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah,
I really don't. I love him.
It's called Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. It's on Nat Geo. It's such a great series. And again, there's only 6 episodes. So
cool.
Cool. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for this episode of We Have to Go Back. Next week, as we mentioned, Further Instructions is the next episode, and that's about it. Anything else from you before we go?
No, man, I'm good.
All right. So in that case, with that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for everything. But until next time, we'll see you guys further on down that rabbit hole. Take care.
Bye.
We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back!